He was the chief prosecutor of the GITMO war crimes trials, but he resigned. As a presidential candidate, Barack Obama campaigned on the promise to close the prison at Guantanamo Bay and to reverse the Bush administration's practice to detain so-called enemy combatants there indefinitely. Instead, Guantanamo Bay remains open, and the Obama administration has expanded this program of indefinite detention and taken it from Cuba to a massive prison at the Bagram Air Force Base in Afghanistan. There, detainees continued to be denied their basic human and legal rights. My next guest was the government's chief prosecutor in the GITMO trials, who resigned after he realized that war crimes would soon become the method of operating. He's Colonel Morris Davis of the United States Air Force. Colonel, it's a pleasure. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You were the government's and the military's chief prosecutor at Guantanamo Bay, and you resigned because the government asked you to use evidence that you believed might have been obtained under torture. You know that's against the law. It's against rules that govern lawyers, and you feared that if you used it, it might set a precedent and encourage more torture.
Exactly, and there's no belief about it. I mean, it's a fact that we tortured people during the War on Terror. There have been a number of judges, military judges, federal judges, former Bush administration officials. So it's not just the left saying we tortured. We did.
Why is GITMO still open?
Well, President Obama said he was going to close it, and I think it's a lack of leadership on his part that it's still open. Certainly Congress has made it extraordinarily difficult, but he needs to be out front leading on this issue.
Has the government established another, more horrific version of GITMO at the Bagram Air Force Base in Afghanistan?
Well, Judge, really GITMO is the tip of the iceberg. That's what gets public attention.
Tell us about the rest of the iceberg, Colonel.
Well, Bagram predated Guantanamo. The prisoners at Guantanamo, for the most part, were at Bagram first and then shipped to Guantanamo. Guantanamo, there were a total of 779 men that have been there.
And how many people are at Bagram?
Right now there are about 3,000 roughly, but there have been a total of about 100,000 that have been through there over the past decade. So
now,
it's huge.
Are these people that have come into the custody of American forces similar to those who were and still are housed at GITMO?
They come from a variety of sources. Some were captured on the battlefield, and that's what you normally hear. These are battlefield captures. Some were. A lot were captured in other countries and brought to Bagram. They were sold for a bounty, a variety of different ways. So there is no one way they ended up at Bagram.
The Bush administration was involved in 6 cases before the United States Supreme Court. It won one of them. It was on a matter of whether or not it was timely and appropriate to bring the case. It lost the other 5 on substantive rulings by the court. Perhaps the most famous was Boumediene, in which the Supreme Court said everybody has the right to habeas corpus. The government can't lock anybody up and throw away the key. The government has to justify to a neutral judge why everyone's in custody. Is that still followed today?
Well, apparently the Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit didn't get that message because they've largely made the Boumediene case irrelevant. That was in 2008 the Supreme Court came down with that ruling. A lot of folks thought that marked a new day for Guantanamo, for detainees worldwide. At the district level, a number of the detainees won. A majority of the cases that had their habeas hearing in district court won.
Meaning the government could not demonstrate a sufficient reason under the law for detaining them, and the judges ordered them freed.
Yeah, and we're not talking convicted of a crime. We're talking the government showing by preponderance of evidence.
A very low standard that the government had the right to keep them.
Right, and judges found they couldn't meet that standard. Then the cases went to the D.C. Circuit on appeal, and they've been uniformly rejected there.
Do you fear that the government might do this to American citizens? It now claims it has the authority to do so under some horrific legislation the president just signed.
Well, certainly the National Defense Authorization Act makes that a possibility.
Wow.
And it's an unfortunate, I think it's unnecessary.
Something you never thought you'd see in your lifetime. I never thought I'd see it in mine.
Well, we used to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. We've become the constrained and the cowardly.
Got it. Colonel Morris Davis, thanks very much for joining us. Empires eventually build their economies around supporting their far-flung military adventures. Will unwinding the military-industrial complex hurt us or actually help the American economy return to firmer footing? Stick around to find out.